If you were to make a teleporter, you would simultaneously, at the same time, I could use one of those things that, like, artificial intelligence, move your eyes to the camera. If you were the intro's gone. The intro to the videos. If you were to make a teleporter, you would simultaneously also create the best suicide machine or the best death machine for the death penalty or whatever. If you just want to die, if you want to kill some people, that's fine. And simultaneously, the perfect clone machine. Because in its essence, what a teleporter is, by its very nature, is a clone machine, but you kill the original version. Literally, that's the best way to think about it. You are not transporting you from one place to another. You are completely destroying yourself on a molecular level, completely killing yourself in an instant, and rebuilding yourself entirely down to the exact molecule, to the point where all your memories are the same, all the synapses and little neurons in your brain are exactly the same. The only thing that's different is your location. And this brings up an interesting point. If teleporters were invented and people were to use them, then there would be a large group of people who understand how it works and who would not use it because they would realize that they are killing themselves. Each time you use a teleporter, you die, and a new you, who is exactly the same in every single way, is transported. Now, that's the bit where you may disagree. You may say, Curtis, that's not a new you, that's just a second you. And the second you, once the first you's dead, is the first you may as well say. And the thing is, say this is me, say there's a clone of me, a perfect identical clone down to the molecule. Literally every single thing about him is exactly the same as me. Is that a clone of me? Or is it just me? Is it a second me? Is there just another me there? Is he as much me than I am? Despite the fact he was created and I was born. That's the difference between a teleported version of you. If when you come out of a teleporter, you now are not born. You have been created. From the second that you have died from that sender to you appearing in the receiver, now technically, you are not, you have been man-made from that point on. And people can choose to not think about that and use teleporters because they're very convenient, but it's true. Deep in their mind, they know that they are technically dead, and there is a new them, which they are now, and you wouldn't feel any different. And some people have trouble comprehending that you would be perfectly identical from your original self. You would be absolutely perfectly identical in every single way, down to the thoughts and feelings you possess. So nothing would change, except for the fact that the old you has been destroyed, and the new identical you has been created. If that scares you, and you might not want to use it, that's fine, and it will scare some people, and they will not use teleporters. However, there are some people who would know that and be just like, yeah, but fucking identical in every single way, that means they're me. That means I'm not really dying, I'm just kind of being transported. But technically you are dying. And there's a good case for, if you do, personally, in your own personal opinion, if you do believe in spiritual things like souls and stuff, it stands to reason that the soul resides in your original body. And this new man-made creation that goes sauntering off, which is exactly the same as you in every way, surely you wouldn't be able to copy the soul, because the soul isn't molecular. The soul isn't a physical, tangible thing. The soul is an essence about you. That's not something that a machine can analyze and copy and synthesize somewhere else. Otherwise, you'd have a soul-making machine. You'd be able to make different souls. So technically, the new you, if you believe in souls, would be exactly the same as the old you, except without a soul. So you'd lose your soul. Think about that for a second. If you believe in souls right now, you would probably never use a teleporter, because you would realize, I'd fucking lose my soul. I would lose it. A soul, by the definition of people who believe in it, is not biological. You can't scan a body and find a soul there. It is the essence of a person. Now, you may say, but the essence of a person is their like thoughts and feelings and who they are as a person. So as that soul's destroyed, then the soul is like, I don't know, fucking created with the body, because it's still like the personality. But then that's not really a soul, is it? That's just the different, you know, brain functions that a person has that makes them unique and makes them individual. That can be defined by science. I feel like the coolness of a soul is the fact that it is an essence about somebody that can't be analysed by science. Whereas if you think it's just the feelings and emotions that a person has, that's what the brain does. You're just saying that the soul is a brain, you know? So, there you go. That's a really, really interesting point. And the interesting point, so when I told this in the university, one of my friends made a very, very good point that there would obviously be, so the people who wouldn't use teleporters wouldn't just not use teleporters and then keep that to themselves. They would probably push their agenda for not using teleporters on people who do use teleporters, and they would be like, you're not pure, you're not the original you don't have a soul, you are a soulless automaton that is created from a machine. The you that was born out of your mother's vagina is dead, and this is a new you. And so he made a very, very good point that from teleporters, Racism 2 would come into the sequel to Racism would come about, where people would discriminate against people who use teleporters because they wouldn't think of them as pure and having souls because of this whole debate and this conversation. But the only thing about that is the fact that you have to be quite, like, in the nicest way possible, if you're dumb, you probably don't think about that, and you would probably just think of a teleporter as, oh, it's a teleporter. And so this is quite a comprehensive argument to understand and comprehend, and I feel like the less dumb you are, the probably more understanding and less likely to just be a racist asshole you are. That's my opinion. Is because you know, it comes with a whole level of maturity and stuff. And for example, like, a lot of people who are anti-vaccine are simply afraid of it because they don't understand it. I mean, there's a lot of evidence for people just not understanding it, and that's the reason why they are anti-vax. You know, if they truly understand it, surely they'd be a bit more reasonable and not likely to take it out on other people. But I do see why people would be, especially with the soul stuff. If you bring a spiritual, possibly religious element into it, it could be a path down a serious. Although at the same time, there is the fact that some people are anti-vax and anti-COVID and stuff. Oh, this is getting political, I don't like this. Because it's an inconvenience to them, and so they don't want to do it. Whereas teleportation is the opposite. So it'd be interesting to see how those people react. Because teleportation, it's convenient to do it. It's convenient to like it. But it is a weird ethical standpoint in the fact that you die and are recreated elsewhere. So would they be for or against it? Because if they do it, and they say it's fine, they get more convenient stuff, you know? That's an interesting hypothetical for you. All these people who like to stir the pot and who like to discriminate against other people, if it's convenient to not do that, would they do it? That's a good question. One of my other friends in the class also, this was I wanted this to just be a quick little ethical thing, and here I am taking stabs at anti-vaxxers, which is, you know, I mean, okay, but I didn't intend to start this video with that, but at the same time, I feel like if I was a YouTuber, it's like, for example, sometimes there are YouTubers out there. There's a guy I watched. God, he's got a weird name, and he made a video on Wolfenstein, and throughout it he just relentlessly railed on. And I mean, good for him. Good. He relentlessly railed on Nazis and just said like how like he didn't pull any punches, because normally like YouTubers will just be like, oh, they're bad and like blah blah blah, but like he got to the point where if anyone had any sort of like neo-Nazi thoughts watching his video, they would have unsubscribed, which is brilliant. I love that. I love pulling no punches and that kind of stuff, because it makes sure that your fan base is a nicer fan base, which is less discriminatory and just generally nicer. And I appreciate bigger YouTubers just taking bold stances on stuff like for example, if you just make a tweet saying racism is bad or don't be racist, and you lose some followers, those are followers that you did not want in your community, you know. So I do find that really cool. This is getting a little bit off topic, but I really do like the idea of that. Anyway, yeah, the ethics of a teleporter is really interesting. Maybe I should just stop this video here and just let that simmer in your mind. But the only problem is, if I stop recording, I'm probably going to think of something cool to say about teleporters. There is also, some people were talking about, what if you had like a bracelet which teleports you from place to place? But then that's the question of how the fuck would it do that? Because the point of a sender and a receiver node is the fact that it is a device which destroys you and recreates you. Whereas if you had a button, it would have to be a button which destroys you and then sends the information to somewhere else that there's not a machine and just recreates. So maybe there's like nanoparticles in the air that go through the air and are able to recreate you, blah, 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 I don't know. By nanoparticles, I meant nanobots. I don't know. That's getting into way sci-fi. I mean, I know that, what's it called? I know that teleporters are sci-fi, but they're getting a little bit less sci-fi, and the most interesting thing is the idea of them are sound. Like time travel is something which could be an impossibility and is debated to be an impossibility. Quite likely it is an impossibility. Probably is. However, something like teleportation, like scientifically, it's sound. You just instantly destroy something and instantly recreate it somewhere else. I mean, we can already fucking make proteins. We would just scale that up to 1 billion times in order to make a fully fucking formed man. And as I said in the start of the video, if you want an instant death machine, just get in the sender and just turn off the receiver. Just make sure it doesn't create a clone of you. Just shut it down and then click the teleport button. Boom, you're gone. In an instant, you're dead. And there you go. And if you don't appear out the other end, it's an instant kill switch. Which you know, you can talk about that in the whole like what's it called, death penalty thing. But like, it would literally be just snapping them out of existence. And they would be gone in literally an instant. Because obviously, if they weren't gone in an instant, nobody would use teleportation, because it would be painful. It would be horribly painful. You die slowly if you were to. I mean, that's the interesting thing about pardon me, TV shows where they slowly teleport you there. Like, that's destroying you. You would be destroyed from that level. So how are they not like, pardon me, screaming in pain as they're like slowly being destroyed? It's interesting. So the only teleportation that realistically should be there is one that kills you instantly. And it's so weird to say the words kills you instantly, but it would kill you instantly, and it would recreate you elsewhere. And obviously, the reverse of that, if you want an instant cloning machine, just to make sure it doesn't get in the sender, just make sure it doesn't kill you. Just flick off the button that kills you, and just let it recreate you in the other one, and you get a clone. So the second that we make teleportation, we make an instant death machine and a perfect clone device. There's no way you can make a teleportation, to my knowledge, that doesn't include just subsequently making those two things as well. And it's quite interesting because when you hear about cloning, there's always like all defects in the clones and stuff, whereas this would have to be perfect. The whole fucking point of this illusion that you just get transported somewhere and don't worry, don't think about it too much, is the fact that you come out perfect the other side. And also, there's the you know, we would be able to create people. We just have to be able to make people in an instant. I mean, who's to say you can't if you knew exactly molecule by molecule how to make me as a person, what's to say you can't change a few strands of DNA and make my hair ginger? Well, it's shouldn't be too hard. It's something that we are on the. I don't know if we're on the precipice of doing it or if we can just do it now. That was the most interesting thing about doing A-level biology, was the fact that our teacher told us we currently have the ability and the scientific knowledge and just are able to mess with DNA in order to make genetically modified babies that have different genetic modifications. Like, we could do that. It's not science fiction. That's something we can do, and we just don't do it because it's illegal, because it's unethical, and we can't do it because it's an illegal thing to do. But I didn't know that. I thought that was science fiction, being able to alter DNA to like make a baby more, but if you think about it, that's kind of just what bioplants are. Just G food. You are literally just taking a rice grain and splicing it with another fruit. You're splicing the fucking DNA of it. It's been a while since it has DNA, right? Every single living thing has DNA, right? Or it does, doesn't it? It does. God, it's been a while since I've done A-level biology. It's not A-level biology, that's just basic biology. Everything has DNA. Yeah, everything has. Every living thing has DNA. Everything does. Yeah, of course it does. So if the plant, that would just be altering the DNA and putting in DNA from something that survives in warmer climates, or a genome from a plant which makes it survive in warmer climates, and splicing it in with a bit of RNA and making this golden rice which can survive in different areas. It's basically just the same in humans, so we could do it, but we don't do it, which is really interesting. Sadly, this is also getting off the topic of teleportation, but it's just cool to think about. So I went off topic twice this video, but it's really interesting to think about the whole teleportation thing. So my question to you is, if teleportations were a thing, would you use them? What's your thought on souls? Do you think you would lose your soul? Do you think your soul would go with you? Why? And what do you think would happen with the whole... Maybe I shouldn't ask about racism too. It was a very funny point that my friend made, that by creating teleporters you would probably inevitably cause discrimination against people who use teleporters. Yeah. Because it's quite a big thing. It's not like AirPods in the fact that people were just like, oh, you're a rich twat, you use AirPods. Like, it's not like that innovation. It's an innovation that is like not life-changing, like generation-changing. It's insane, that development, and you're not messing with whether a earphone has wires or not. You're messing with somebody's life. Like, technically you are killing someone. Like, you are killing someone. So that begs the question, would governments even allow teleportation to be a thing? Like, would they allow it? Because by its nature, you are committing murder. The person who flips the switch is killing that person and recreating that person elsewhere. So would the government just be like, but it's okay because they're exactly the same when they come out? And would they be fine with it because of the benefits of it? So would they just overlook the fact that technically you're killing someone, and would they rule it as actually technically, in the law you're not killing someone because they're fine the other side? This new man that comes out who's identical to the old one in every way. So you can tell what my stance on it is. I probably wouldn't use teleporters because I don't like the idea of me dying, which isn't a controversial sentence, but I know that you'd come out identical the other side, but I don't know if I don't know. It's interesting to think about, but